If you've ever had to deal with a high conflict person, you know this moment. It almost always happens in the kitchen, right? Or over a late night text. You finally build up the courage to say, hey, that thing you did, it hurt my feelings. And you're just hoping for a little bit of connection. But instead of softening, they turn it into a trial. Well, today we're going to break down exactly why that happens, and more importantly, what you can do about it. This this just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? You offer this little piece of your vulnerability, you're hoping for just a little bit of softness back. But instead, bam, the emotional courtroom doors just swing wide open, and suddenly you're on the witness stand. I mean, really think about it. Maybe it was over a text, the blue light from your phone lighting up your face as you finally typed out how you felt. Or maybe it was right there in the kitchen, and a simple attempt to just connect completely goes sideways. You lead with your heart, and you are met with a cross-examination. It's jarring. Okay, so this brings us to our first big idea, the unexpected trial. You walked into this thinking you were having a conversation, but what you got was a full-blown courtroom proceeding. And somehow, you're both the victim and the accused. So let's break down the tactics they used. This is always move number one. You say something simple like, I felt sad when you said that, and they immediately come back with, when? When exactly did I say it? What was my exact tone of voice? What did you say right before that to make me say it? All of a sudden, your feeling isn't valid until you can prove it with a mountain of evidence. It's exhausting. And oh man, this is where things get so frustrating. Your attempt at connection, something like, lately, I just feel a little disconnected from you, is somehow twisted into this wild accusation like, oh, so now you're saying I'm a terrible partner and I do absolutely nothing right? They reframe your feeling as an attack on their character, and now you're stuck defending a point you never even made. And then comes the knockout blow. After they've cross-examined you, after they've twisted your words, after you've been pushed to your absolute emotional limit, and you, quite understandably, get upset, they hit you with this one. You're just too sensitive. It is the ultimate dismissal. It invalidates not just your original feeling, but your completely normal reaction to their crazy-making tactics. So what's our natural response to all this, right? Well, for most of us empathetic people, we try to solve it with more logic, or more explanation, or more love. But here's the crucial point, and it's totally counterintuitive. In these dynamics, your logic, it just becomes fuel for their fire. Your attempts to connect just feed the whole thing. And look, your intentions are so good. You're an empathetic person, of course they are. You're thinking, you know what, if I can just explain my point more clearly, they'll finally get it. Or if I just show them a little more love and reassurance, we can get through this. You are trying to solve the problem. And this slide, this shows the whole disconnect right here. You offer clarity, but all they see is a challenge to their authority. You show more love, and they just find more fuel for their argument. You are seeking connection, but they are fighting to seize control. You think you're in the same conversation, but you're not even playing the same game. And that brings us to the core concept. The reason these conversations always fail is because you're making a fundamental error. You're in what experts call an asymmetrical conflict. Let's just let that sink in for a second. You believe the goal of the conversation is to understand each other, to resolve things. You've been operating under the assumption that you both want the same thing. But in an asymmetrical conflict, that is just not true. Here it is, side by side. It couldn't be clearer. You are playing the game of connection. Your goal is to close the distance between you. They are playing the game of control. Their goal is to win, to be right, to manage the outcome. And listen to me, you cannot win their game by playing by your rules. It's impossible. This right here, this is the turning point. This isn't about blaming them. It's about seeing the situation for what it is. It's about recognition. And the moment you stop trying to play their game of control and you realize you need a totally different strategy, that's the moment you take your power back. So how do we do that? Well, we have to stop running the old programming. It's just not designed for this environment. It's time to install a new OS, a brand new operating system for how you engage. Now, this isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's not about being cold or cruel. It's about updating your approach so that you can protect your own energy and your own peace. Think of it like a system reboot. Your new OS is based on just two core principles. And they might sound a little, cold at first, but they're actually profound acts of self-care. The two principles are detachment and strategy. Okay, let's be really clear what we mean here. Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It means caring from a safe distance. It's refusing to let your emotional state be controlled by their tactics. And strategy? That's not about manipulation, not at all. It's about being intentional. So instead of reacting emotionally, you consciously choose a response that de-escalates the situation and protects you. And this is the beautiful result. When you use detachment and strategy, you stop handing them the very fuel they use to power the conflict. You're no longer playing their game of control. You're playing a new game now, and it's called the game of preserving your own well-being. So the final thought I want to leave you with is this. Just imagine all of the energy you pour into these draining, pointless circular conflicts, all the hours you spend analyzing and worrying and then recovering. What could you do with all that energy if you got it back? What could you build in your life, for yourself, when you finally stopped fighting a battle you were never, ever meant to win?
Okay, so let's just get right into it. Have you ever been in an argument where you feel like you showed up for a heart-to-heart and the other person showed up for a fight to the death? You're trying to connect and they're just trying to win. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, then stick around. We're going to break down exactly why some arguments feel completely unwinnable and what you can actually do about it.
And then you hear this. Ugh, this one, right? It's the classic line, the final little twist after you've been pushed and prodded and finally you react. It's a phrase that's basically designed to make you question your own sanity, and it's a huge red flag that you're not actually in a normal, healthy conversation. So why does that happen, right? Why does a simple attempt to say, hey, I'm feeling hurt, suddenly turn into a full-blown courtroom drama? Suddenly you're on the witness stand being cross-examined for every little thing you've ever said or done.
And we all know the scene, don't we? It's late at night in the kitchen or it's over a text message. You finally work up the nerve to just say, when you said that, it hurt. And you're hoping for some understanding, maybe an apology. But instead, bam, the interrogation light flicks on and all of a sudden, your feelings are the problem.
Okay, and here it is. This is the absolute key. The fundamental mistake that's costing you so much of your peace. You walk in thinking you're having a conversation between two people who both want to solve a problem. But you're not. You're not even playing the same game.
What you're actually in is something called an asymmetrical conflict. And that word, asymmetrical, is everything. It means you and the other person aren't just playing by different rules. You're on completely different fields, playing two totally different games. Let's look at what I mean.
Look at this breakdown, it's so clear. Your goal is connection, their goal is control. You're playing the game of empathy, they're playing the game of power. So you show up with your tools, logic, love, trying to build a bridge. And they show up with their tools, chaos and drama, because their only goal is to win. You can't play chess if the other person is just there to flip the board over. It's impossible.
So you might be asking, if they don't want to connect, what in the world do they want? Why even have these fights? Well, the answer is a concept that is absolutely essential to get. It's called supply.
Supply is the real currency of this conflict. And what is it? It's your emotional reaction. It's your anger. It's your tears. And this is a big one. It's your long, detailed explanations. To a person who thrives on conflict, your reactions aren't a sign that something's wrong. They're the prize. They are the proof that they matter, that they have control over you.
Honestly, the best way to get this is to think about Pavlov's experiment with the dogs, right? They ring the bell, which means they poke you, they provoke you, they twist your words. You react, you get angry, you cry, you defend yourself, and ding, 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 they get their reward. It's like this little dopamine hit for them that tells their brain, yes, I'm in control. It's a sick little feedback loop. And this quote just hits so hard because it's the core of the trap. Every single time you try to bring more clarity, to explain yourself better, to use more logic, you think you're putting out a fire, but you're not. You're just dumping a canister of gasoline on it. What you see as clarity, they see as fuel. Okay, so if explaining ourselves is actually making things worse, how do we stop? Well, the first step is to see the trap, to recognize the exact things we do that they use to get that supply from us. And it all boils down to this really helpful acronym, JADE. The Jade Trap. This is what we fall into. We justify our actions, we argue our point, we defend our character, and we explain our reasoning over and over again. And these four things, man, they feel so natural, don't they? They feel like the right thing to do.
But in one of these asymmetrical conflicts, they're the 4 ways you give all your power away.
You have to burn this into your brain. Their goal is not to find the truth. It's not to come to a mutual understanding. The real goal is just to keep the drama going. The drama itself is the destination, because as long as the chaos is churning, they're getting a steady drip of that supply from you.
Let's use a real-world example. You say something that sounds completely harmless and reasonable, right? You're trying to explain, maybe justify why you were a little snappy. You're just giving context.
But look what just happened. To you, it was an explanation. To them, you just handed over 2 brand new weapons. Now the fight isn't about what you did. Oh no. It's about how you always use work as an excuse, or it's about how you can't manage your own schedule. You thought you were closing a conversation, but you actually just gave them 2 new avenues to attack.
So, if the old way doesn't work, engaging, explaining, jading, then we need a totally new way of doing things. A new operating system. And the goal of this new system is pretty simple. It's to shift from emotional engagement to strategic disengagement.
And this whole new system really boils down to just 2 words: detachment and strategy. Now, detachment doesn't mean you become a cold, heartless robot. It just means you emotionally unhook from needing them to agree with you. And strategy means you stop reacting from a place of hurt and start choosing your responses to get to your goal, which is peace, not proving a point.
And honestly, just understanding this whole thing, the fact that it's asymmetrical, the game of supply, the jade trap, that's the biggest step you can take. It's like in the Matrix, when Neo finally sees the code. Once you see what's really going on behind the curtain, you can't unsee it, and you can finally start to move differently.
So, one of the most powerful, practical strategies that comes out of this new mindset is called the gray rock method. And it is exactly what it sounds like. The goal is to make yourself as boring and uninteresting as a plain old gray rock. You give short, factual answers, no emotion, no drama, no extra information.
And the reason this works so incredibly well is because it goes right for the source. It starves them of the emotional oxygen, your supply, that they need to survive. When they poke you and get nothing, no anger, no tears, no long explanations, that bell stops working. There's no reward. And eventually a person looking for drama will get bored and go somewhere else.
Look, this entire dynamic is a machine, and it can't run without your energy. It needs your fuel to keep going. So the question I really want to leave you with is this. What happens when you just stop feeding the machine? What becomes possible for your own peace of mind when you make that choice? Have you ever been in one of those conversations where it feels off? Like you're playing a completely different game than the other person? Well, today we're going to get right into that feeling. We're breaking down a really specific, super draining type of conflict. And more importantly, we're giving you a brand new playbook to deal with it.
Does that one sound familiar? It's that phrase, isn't it? It's usually the final punch in a conversation where you tried to open up, only to somehow end up feeling like you're the one who's completely crazy. If you've ever heard this, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And that feeling? It often starts in the most ordinary places. We're calling this the trial in your kitchen.
So you take a deep breath and you say something really simple, really honest, like, hey, what you said before, that actually hurt my feelings. You're hoping for maybe a little bit of understanding, right? But what you get back is a full-blown cross-examination. All of a sudden, your simple feeling is on trial, your words are getting twisted, and what was supposed to be a moment of connection turns into a courtroom battle you never ever wanted to be in.
So what on earth is going on here? Why does it feel so bizarre and exhausting? Well, it's because you're not actually in the same conversation. You've walked right into something called an asymmetrical conflict. And here's what that means. It's a total mismatch. On the surface, it just looks like 2 people talking. But underneath it all, you are playing by completely different rules with completely different goals in mind. And this is the light bulb moment right here. Just look at this breakdown. Your game, the goal is connection. Your rules are empathy. Your strategy is to understand. Now look at their game. The goal, control. The rules, domination. And the strategy, winning. That's it. It's like you're trying to build a bridge and they're just trying to blow it up. You absolutely cannot win their game by playing by your rules. It's impossible.
Which leads us to a really tough truth. The very things that make you, your empathy, your logic, those are the things that actually get used against you. It's what we're going to call the empathy trap.
Right, so if you're a highly empathetic person, you know, a super sensor, an orchid, you probably have this thing called the savior reflex. You see this confusing behavior, and your brain just goes, okay, their circuitry is broken. Something's not right, so you try to fix it. You think if I just use more logic, more patience, more love, I can fix this connection.
But here's the part that is so hard to accept. All of your efforts, all that beautiful empathy and logic you're bringing to the table, it doesn't land as clarity to them. To a person who's playing the game of control, all of that is just more fuel for their fire. You're handing them the very ammunition they need to keep the conflict going.
And this is the bottom line. Think of your empathy as a really advanced piece of software. It's designed for connection and understanding, but you're trying to use that software to fix a deep underlying hardware problem in their system, and it just doesn't work. You cannot fix a hardware problem with a software solution. They're not compatible.
Okay, so what do? If our old way of doing things is actually making it worse, we need a new operating system. It's time for an upgrade. Let's talk about the glass wall strategy.
So here's the plan. We are officially uninstalling the savior reflex. It's draining your energy, it's not working. And in its place, we are installing a new program, compassionate detachment. This is a total game changer.
Now, this doesn't mean you turn into an ice queen or stop caring. Not at all. It just means you can still have compassion for them, you can care about them, while building this really strong emotional boundary that keeps their drama from messing up your own system.
And here is how you do it. It's a visualization. The next time you feel that conflict starting, I want you to literally picture a thick, soundproof glass wall lowering down between you and them. You can still see them, you can hear what they're saying, but all that negative energy, the blame, the anger, it just hits the glass and slides right down to the floor. It can't get to you.
See, when you're stuck in that old savior reflex, your brain is in what scientists call the default mode network. This is your me network. It's tied to your emotions, your sense of self. It's the part of you that takes everything personally. And that's why their attacks hurt so much.
But when you put up that glass wall, something amazing happens in your brain. It actually shifts you over to the task-positive network. This is your logical, analytical brain. Instead of feeling the attack, you just start observing the data. You start thinking, oh, that's interesting. They're using that tactic again. You go from being in the drama to being an observer of it.
Okay, so this new operating system has one more feature, and it is absolutely critical. It's about learning to trust in intelligence you've had your entire life. Your body. Your body knows the truth.
I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever been there? Their words sound so reasonable. Maybe their tone is super sweet, but your stomach is just turning, or there's this tightness in your chest. There's a huge disconnect. So who do you trust in that moment? Their words or your body?
This brings us to the second tool, somatic validation. It sounds fancy, but it just means trusting your body. It's the practice of listening to those biological signals, that knot in your stomach, that tension, and believing them, even when someone's words are telling you a different story.
And here's why that's so important. Gaslighting works because it confuses your logical brain, but it cannot fool your nervous system. Your body is this incredibly fine-tuned instrument, and it's picking up on what's really happening. It's detecting the intent to control that's hidden right underneath those nice words.
Just look at this. On one side, what you hear are convincing words, a sweet tone, maybe some plausible logic. But on the other side, what you feel is a tight chest, a turning stomach, a primal alarm bell going off. Your body is telling you something isn't safe here.
So here it is, the #1 rule for your new operating system. Whenever there is a mismatch between what you hear and what you feel, you always prioritize the biological signal. Always. Your body knows what game is being played long before your mind does.
So let's leave it with this final thought. We go into these interactions with this deep human need to be understood. But what if, for these very specific conflicts, that's not the goal anymore? What if you change your objective completely? What if the new goal isn't to be understood, but simply to stay safe? Because making that one tiny shift, well, that changes everything. You know those conversations, the ones that just leave you feeling completely drained, exhausted, and confused? Well, today we're talking about a practical, strategic guide for navigating them. Let's get into what we're calling the defense protocol.
Ah, this one. Does this phrase ring a bell? It's that classic line someone throws at you, usually right when you're at your breaking point, and it's perfectly designed to make you doubt your own feelings, isn't it?
You could probably picture it right now. It's late at night, you're sitting at the kitchen table, or maybe you're caught in one of those endless text message battles. You finally work up the courage to just say it. Hey, what you did hurt me. But instead of any softness, instead of any understanding, you just hit a brick wall of defensiveness. And suddenly, you're being cross-examined, your words are getting twisted, and somehow you end up feeling like you're the one who did something wrong. Now here's where things get really interesting. According to researchers, most of us are making a fundamental error right from the very start. We walk into these interactions thinking it's a conflict between two people who both want to find a resolution. But that's not always what's happening.
Experts actually have a name for this. It's called an asymmetrical conflict. And all it means is that the two people involved are playing two completely different games, with two totally different goals. One person is trying to connect, the other person is just trying to control.
Let's just break that down for a second. In your game, the goal is connection, right? You want mutual understanding. So you use your best tools: empathy, vulnerability, logic. But in their game, the goal is just to win. And here's the part that you really have to get. Your empathy, all your attempts to explain yourself, your emotional responses, that's not helping. For them, that's just fuel.
So trying to win their game using your rule book, it's like trying to play chess with a pigeon. It's just going to knock over the pieces, make a mess, and strut around like it won anyway. It's time to stop playing. It is time to install a brand new operating system.
And this new system, it's built on two really simple but incredibly powerful principles: emotional detachment and clear-eyed strategy. Now, this isn't about being cold or unfeeling. It's about being effective.
And this brings us right to the defense protocol. And listen, this isn't about attacking somebody. It's a 3-step plan to defend your own energy and to reclaim your mental and emotional space.
So the protocol has 3 core steps. First, we have the gray rock method, which helps you become a really uninteresting target. Second is yellow rocking, for those situations you just can't avoid. And third, and this is vital, is the practice of becoming a documentarian to protect your own sense of reality.
Okay, so step 1, the gray rock method. The name really says it all. Your one and only goal is to become as boring and uninteresting as a plain old gray rock. See, high-conflict people, they thrive on emotional reactions. That's their payoff. And when you stop giving them one, you cut off their reward loop.
So, what does this look like in the real world? It's all about short, factual, unemotional replies. They send you a long, provocative text message. You respond with, "Okay." They try to bait you into a fight. You say, "I hear you." No debating, no explaining, and no defending yourself. Now, a really critical warning here. When you first start doing this, things are probably going to get worse before they get better. It's a known phenomenon called an extinction burst. Think about it like a vending machine. If you've always gotten a snack by putting in $1 and one day it doesn't work, you don't just walk away. You push the button again, maybe a little harder. You might even shake the machine. Well, they are going to shake the machine harder to get that reaction they're used to getting. You have to hold the line.
But what if you can't just be a gray rock? What if this person is a coworker, or a co-parent, or a family member you absolutely have to interact with? Well, that's where step 2, yellow rocking, comes in. It's a slightly friendlier but still very, very bounded approach.
For this, we use the B.I.F.F. response. It's an acronym. Your communication must be brief, informative, friendly, and firm. But the real magic is in what you don't do. You reply only to the facts, and you completely ignore any of the insults, the accusations, or the emotional bait. Finally, step 3. And this might be the most important for your own sanity. You have to become a documentarian. It's time to stop trusting your memory, because over time, it can be manipulated through things like gaslighting.
So, start logging the facts. Keep a private, secure record of what actually happened. Write down the dates, the times, direct quotes if you can get them, just the factual, observable events. And remember, this is not for them. This is for you.
The reason this is so vital is because it helps you fight against something called perspecticide. It's this slow, really insidious process where another person erodes your own sense of reality. Your log, that becomes your anchor. It's a concrete record that confirms what you know to be true, especially when you start to doubt yourself.
So let's bring this all together. These tactics, gray rock, B.I.F.F, documenting, they aren't about fighting back. They are tools to help you make a really crucial mindset shift, to become the observer of what's happening, instead of a participant in the drama.
And here's the most important point of all. We are letting go of the need to win the argument. That was never the real goal in the first place. The true victory is disengaging from the game entirely and reclaiming your peace and your space.
Thinking strategically does not make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a cold or unfeeling person. In these very specific asymmetrical conflicts, strategy is your shield.
It's just a necessary form of self-protection and self-respect.
This whole approach is about shifting from being a player in their game to becoming the architect of your own peace. The goal isn't to win their argument, it's to reclaim your space. So the real question is, are you ready to become the observer and find your peace?